this, but at this point, I think it would be good to, Tammy, to throw it back to you and then have the other panel members be a part of this as well. Thank you.
Very good, Dr. Thompson. Thank you. And so up next, as Dr. Thompson mentioned, there's a number of folks here, but I wanted to see if Dr. McAllister, our Vice President for Academic Affairs, or Jeff Schwartz, our Associate Vice President in Academic Affairs and Dean of Undergraduate Studies, had additional information you wanted to share relative to what Dr. Thompson just shared at this point. You're on mute, the two of you, so just a reminder.
Hi, everyone. I'm Peter McAllister, Vice President for Academic Affairs, and I want to welcome, for the freshmen, I want to welcome you and congratulations on your acceptance. Obviously, we have so many people that apply to Ringling College that you're obviously incredibly talented. So congrats to you. And for the returning students, we're looking forward to seeing you as first day of classes, obviously September 7th, that's been announced. And whether you're going to end up choosing online or here in person, September 7th is the start date. We have a couple of academic plan sort of updates that we're really putting forward some modalities that are either in person or a hybrid of in-person online or online. And there's a number that fit across that spectrum. And there's a good way to learn about that by going to our website where we have the FAQs, and I'll post that up on our chat here just in a minute. And please know that regardless of the modality you choose, that you're going to be working with and studying with our 180 world-class faculty. So that's just a stunning way to make sure that you're being looked after. And if you've already been here, then you know how strong and excellent they are. And of course, we're always infusing our degree programs with experiential learning that builds the critical thinking, your problem solving, and your collaboration skills that really connect you to the workforce of the future. So with that, you are our success, but that success is built into our curriculum for the future that will be tomorrow. And so with that, I'd like to welcome Jeff Schwartz, our AVP and Dean of Undergrad Studies. Jeff.
Hello, everyone. Good to see so many faces. I have not been on a Zoom yet with 583 participants. I feel like it's a step in the forward direction here. So great to see all of you. Thanks for joining us. As Dr. McAllister and President Thompson had mentioned, we've done a lot of work to get ourselves in a position to support you and your concerns and give you some options moving forward. And so we are really excited to work with you on those options. We have that updated FAQ list for you on our website for questions that you might have. I see in the chat there's a number of questions being asked. We'll address some of those today, but many of them I know are already on that list, and we just updated that list as well, I think. So many of those things can be addressed there and help you kind of get clarity for what things are going to look like as we enter into our fall experience. We've been working hard, creating as many opportunities as possible, creating as good an experience as we possibly can for those that choose to come live with us, or if this option works for you, to still have that high quality experience that you expect from us, that you deserve from us and our team and our faculty. Faculty are working hard as well, and we're going to put forward our best efforts to give you a highly engaging and exciting fall experience. So again, welcome. Thanks for being here, and looking forward to fielding some questions you might have.
Very good. Thank you, Jeff and Dr. McAllister. And so as Dr. Thompson mentioned, we have our Associate Dean of Students and Director of Health Services, Dr. Aaron Robinson, with us because we, obviously there's many questions related to the health aspects and some of the protocols that we have in place and have been working on. So I'd like to introduce Dr. Aaron Robinson.
Hi, very nice to see everyone on the Zoom today. I first wanted to say I'm going to be talking kind of high level because there's a lot to get through regarding some of the safety and health protocols that we're going to have on campus. And I know that there's a lot of more specific questions. So please, after this, feel free to email me directly. It's erobinso without the N on the end at ringling.edu, or you can email covidtest@ringling.edu, and we can set up a time to Zoom and have a consult and talk more specifically about your individual concerns. What we do want to talk about is that we've done a lot of meeting and following data to mitigate risk on campus. for our students, our faculty, our staff, so that we can have a really vibrant community in the fall. We are partnering with our Department of Health in Sarasota County. They've come to campus and met with us. They've done site visits so that we have an ongoing relationship with them. And as well, our medical services are provided by Sarasota Memorial Hospital. And so we're also speaking with them on a daily basis to find out things as far as bed capacity in hospitals, rates of illness, what it's looking like, and we're very confident in the ability to bring students back to campus and have a great semester. So with that, we're going to be asking our community to do a few things to ensure that that happens. The first major thing that we're putting in place is testing. And so what we'd like to do is all students, prior to being able to move into your room on campus or attend an in-person class, has to submit a test with negative results to the health center. And while we know this is a snapshot in time, it also gives us really good information that starting the semester, everyone is at 0, that we have a snapshot that everyone is healthy and ready to go for the semester. There's 3 types of ways that you can submit tests. One is to do it on your own, and you can email it to COVID-test@, or you can fax it in. We can send you a test kit to take on your own. It's a swab of your mouth, so it's not invasive at all. You send the kit, it comes the next day, and it processes in about 24 hours. Or if you're in the area before you're planning to move in, you can come to the center and do the kit there. It's processed through insurance, and right now with COVID, insurances at this time are waiving any copays associated with COVID illness or testing. That could change. We'll just have to see. What we're also doing is following the guidelines from the CDC, the Florida Department of Health, the Florida's governor, and like Dr. Thompson was talking about earlier, it allows us to pivot and make changes in what we're doing on campus and for our community. So we're meeting daily to make sure that that happens. Outside of testing, we're also asking everyone to wear masks in public spaces and to maintain that physical distance of 6 feet. What we know right now in this ever-changing environment is that masks significantly deter the spread of coronavirus, especially when both parties are wearing it and you're 6 feet apart. So what that means is if you're in a class and someone becomes sick and tests positive and your class is wearing masks and maintaining the appropriate spacing at your desks or workspaces, that class can continue. That does not mean that everyone in that class has to quarantine. It just means that person will be moved to isolation until they feel better and are able to rejoin class at that time. We're also asking everyone to self-monitor health. And so when you're thinking about things to bring to school, while the school will be providing a mask, to also bring some additional masks so that you're practicing good hygiene and you're able to change your mask every day and wash them appropriately, but also to bring things like a thermometer. So before you go to classes in the morning or you meet someone, you're able to take your temperature and make sure you're under that 100.4. And then your own, hand sanitation and things like that, which when you come to campus, you'll see the campus looks very different as far as social distancing, changing of classrooms, there's hand sanitizers everywhere. And so we're really mindful of maintaining that hygiene so that health can be maintained. If someone does get sick on campus, we do have housing set aside for isolation. What that will look like is a student will go to housing, there'll be some items there. We'll ask the student to have their computer and just personal items so that they're comfortable. Our medical personnel, as well as a therapist to do case management, will be contacting that student on a daily basis to make sure that their needs are met, their health is where it needs to be. If symptoms start to get worse, we will send that student to the hospital. And if a student needs to go to isolation and they're sharing a bedroom with someone else, that person will also go to isolation because you're sharing the same air without masks. And the presumptive idea is that that person has been in close enough contact with you that they're very likely to be sick as well. So it ensures both of your health are managed and everyone around you. We will be doing contact tracing so that we can ensure that other students that might have been in contact with a student who becomes sick are addressed and noted, and we decide if they do need to go to quarantine, which is the same type of process as far as having a housing location and being checked up on regularly. We, of course, want to maintain your classes and allow you to get back to class as quickly as possible. And so we're going to work very diligently to make sure that we catch everyone we can who needs to have extra care. And then we'll also be doing random testing throughout the semester to ensure that if someone's asymptomatic, we can catch them before they would spread coronavirus. Medical services opens August 17th. We will also have counseling, individual and group counseling, as well as crisis appointments available for all enrolled students, regardless of if that is online or in person on campus. And if you live somewhere where you need to be seeing someone more regularly, we'll work with you to find that provider in your hometown if that's what you would prefer. Again, I know that's a lot of information, very high level, so please feel free to reach out so that we can make a consultation and speak more specifically about what some of your concerns might be. So we'll look forward to seeing you in the fall.
Very good. Thank you, Dr. Robinson. And I see a few follow-up questions, so we'll get to those. But I see some questions relative to kind of the student life type of experience, and we do have a number of folks that are here as well, and there's some other questions. But, we are working very hard to do what we can relative to creating a very engaging student life experience, whether you're here in person or whether you are taking your courses online. We've obviously learned a lot in the spring semester, and we'll continue to do the types of programs and activities and even more of them now, where we're offering actually activities and different opportunities for all students to engage in an online type of experience. We will be looking at the ways that we can, in a safe manner, bring a very small group of students together, with distancing, wearing face masks and that sort of stuff. But all of the student support services are going to be available to all of you. Career services, obviously, the health and counseling services aspect, the Student Learning Center, our Student Advising Center, so we received some questions ahead of time relative to, that type of thing, and where we know that the appointments kind of via Zoom and stuff worked very well, so we will be able to continue that, and there may be opportunities then for other ways that you will engage. But like, for instance, even our recruiters continue to do sessions via Zoom with students through career services. So we promise you there will be the student life types of engagement experiences that help to connect you as part of this community that is so important to your learning as well, and we know that. And so, depending on where you are here in person, living as part of the community in the residence halls, or taking your courses in a different format, you will have a wide array of different ways that you can engage. There will be some changes though, so I want to be upfront about all of that, obviously, with all of our protocols that we need to have in place with distancing and expectations for, wearing the face mask and all of that, that we do need everybody's help. It's really going to take everybody in the community and students, we need you to do your part too in helping to keep everybody healthy, and safe. So, we're going to, if we see somebody that's not following up and doing what they should, question about that, we are going to need to address that. And we can't, that's not what we want to have happening in our community. So I'm laying that out now and asking for everybody's, obviously commitment and understanding as a part of this very special community to help us move through this in the safest manner possible. And so we have, the other folks here on participating. We have our Dr. Tracy Wagner from Finance and Administration. We've got the Student Life folks, Mr. Chris Schaefer from Residence Life, and Jakima Robinson, Student Engagement. Both of them are Associate Deans as well. Lee Harrell, Financial Aid. Byron Lynch from our Facilities. Greg Priggerson from Admissions, so for new students, important, and along with Lee Harrell there, and Amy Pettengill, our Director of International Student Affairs. And so I wanted to kind of, one of the areas we're seeing a lot of questions on is relative to tuition and the cost, and with, these different modalities, will there be any change? And so I'm going to ask Dr. Wagner to start with this one.
Sure, thanks, Tammy, and welcome to everybody. I really appreciate your interest in participating in the Zoom. And I know you'll be disappointed to hear this, but the short answer is no, that there won't be a tuition reduction for that online experience. We're very committed to providing the same level of quality that we can in that face-to-face experience. And how we build our tuition costs is based really on a cost-plus model. So of the net tuition that students and parents pay, over 50% of that goes to instructional costs. So that's your faculty salaries, that's your facilities that you're receiving the instruction, the technology support for that instruction. And a quarter of your net tuition goes to things like student support, so library support, registrar's office, and student support takes up the balance of that. So we don't want to diminish any of those services that we're providing and need to continue to support those and the additional costs of supporting learning in this new environment. And we've actually cut a number of costs to be able to afford some of these things that we're putting in place to support the new safety protocols. Questions on the Zoom in the chat, about financial issues. So I would encourage you, if you're having a particular financial issue, to reach out. If it's an extension that you're looking for, you can reach out to billing@ringling.edu and provide some information about your request and the date you need the bill date extended to, and they'll be very responsive. And also financial aid can assist as well, and that's finaid@ringling.edu. And I also saw some in the chat, questions about transparency, and I'd be very open to providing some additional information about what the tuition and fees goes for. So we definitely will be following up on that in the FAQs.
Very good, thank you, thank you. Okay, question for academic affairs here. Will the libraries and labs be open for student use? Dr. McAllister?
So I'll jump in. Certainly, our labs are typically open till 2 in the morning, and then they open up again as the day starts. And of course, the intent there is to try to get you back to maybe sleeping before the next day begins, and that's meant to be a little humor, if I could. And we have really strong labs that are situated in our library, and they're open 24/7. And that's how we typically run our labs on campus.
A question relative to what changes will be made in the residence halls. And I'll address that one because I know we're working on a number of things. We are working to de-densify some of our spaces, and obviously, you know, with this option now, that helps even further. Within common areas in the residence halls, we will be identifying kind of maximum capacities in common areas and identifying, you know, where space areas are that you can sit and use the space. We are, you know, in a couple of our facilities, we have, you know, kind of the common area kitchens, and I'm not talking about the apartments, but common area kitchens, not, you know, right now be opening those. But by and large, you know, the spaces are wonderful, and our newest residence hall is just absolutely gorgeous, as well as all of, you know, we're fortunate. We have a lot of newer facilities where we do not have, you know, a lot of the facilities where you have multiple people sharing a bathroom down the hall or in large suites. And so it allows us, you know, really to minimize the number of individuals in a particular space. And we're, you know, furthering as we gather information about, you know, choices, you know, as you make them about how you will take your courses, we'll be working to further detail as well. Particular question here relative to, where did I just see it? Commuting students and testing, Dr. Robinson. So if I live off campus, am I required to get a test?
Yes, so if you are living off campus and you'll be coming onto campus for classes or use of any of the facilities, you will need to submit a test to our office. And again, you can do that on your own, or you can do that through the health center. We're looking at a 5-day window. So there are some questions that we've been getting as far as traveling or driving to school and how that would work. With the test kits that we're sending out, if you submit your information, they'll be sent out to you at the beginning of August. And then we would ask that 5 days prior to you getting here, you take the kit and you send it in. And that will give ample time for us to receive it and process that information so that you'll be ready to go and be prepared for classes and move in.
Very good. Thank you. Another question about student life. Jakima, I'm going to ask you to respond to this one. Will there be clubs in the fall? And if so, what will, you know, how will that happen?
Yes, there will be clubs in the fall. We've already started the registration process back in the spring semester, so we've already have several organizations planned. We are going to be working, I know Candace Johnson, our Director of Student Activities and Leadership Development, is on this call as well. And so we'll all be working together to really ensure that we can provide the best method, whether it be in the small in-person groups on campus, and or almost everything will have a virtual aspect to it this coming year. So working with clubs and organizations on how they can best meet, how they can best continue programmings and events, and then also feel like that they have that on-campus experience. So that will be taking place.
Thank you. This next question is about our other campus facilities outside of residence halls. So Byron, what other steps are we taking to make our classrooms and other spaces that we utilize safe?
Well, that's a great question. It starts with the general guidelines that we already mentioned, which is installing hand sanitizer dispensers all over the place. I mean, they're like everywhere now. Disinfecting wipes in classrooms, physical distancing, we're removing furniture to create space for to keep people further apart from each other. Then we're also looking at increased cleaning cycles for the custodial department, increased ventilation rates in many of the buildings, bringing in more fresh air, and then of course increased air filtration with that. So those are some of the things we're doing physically with the facilities, and that's pretty much all facilities, not just the academic facilities, but residence halls too.
Question specific to the CA majors. Why? A question about the modality of delivery and how that was decided. Dr. McAllister or Jeff Schwartz?
Sure, jumping in, and Jeff, please help. There's the process we used to determine those modalities. We went to the faculty departments, and through the department heads, they looked at how best could they prepare and make sure that the learning outcomes and the competencies would be achievable and learned by our students. So they chose the best modality for their courses. And in the chat, I put the list and the link there that you can see course by course delivery modalities, so that as you're looking at your course schedule, you can already know what kind of delivery you can expect. But that was chosen by the department for the best experience by the student.
I think the modality specifically that the CA students might be asking about is students in lab with remote teaching. So that would allow our students to be in the lab on our high-end equipment and have that full real estate of the monitor space. And the faculty could actually zoom in and share the screen of the student while they're learning, which allows for a very highly engaging experience without having to worry about being too close to the student to help them with their projects. Also, all of our classes that are going to be face-to-face are going to be spread out amongst 2 classrooms, adjacent classrooms or adjacent labs, which gives us more space, more social distancing, but gives our students the best experience in the space we can provide with technology and learning. And that modality seemed to work best for our students in that area to get and achieve the highest level of success possible. So that they can still have that close contact, but it's through the screen experience on our high-end machines. And that's how that was decided.
Plus, they also have the advantage of having other students in there to be able to talk to and so on and so forth. And yet, because many times, and quite frankly, students tell me they learn quite a bit from the students themselves as they are in the labs. And finally, even in that modality, it requires a faculty member. To have some sort of person-to-person connection with the students in the remote learning that CA is part of, CA and Game Art.
Good. Okay. Question from an international parent about can the international parent can they go home while their student is still in quarantine? And so, Dr. Robinson, would you like to respond to that?
Sure. So I'm understanding it as the parents asking if they are able to go back to their home country while their student is in quarantine.
Correct.
Absolutely. And that is really based on your comfort. So as a student's in quarantine, for our international students, they'll also be starting their orientation programming. So there's going to be a lot of programming and ways to connect with other students and campus support while they're in quarantine. If there's a concern about health and well-being and it's your personal preference to stay in town just to ensure that your student is feeling well and is adjusting, that absolutely is your choice. It's not a requirement. And Amy can speak to this a little bit more, but there's a robust sequence of events that will be happening to engage students during that time period so that they're not isolated and feeling alone while they're quarantining before the semester starts.
Very good. Thank you. That's actually...
Me to jump in here
Sure.
as well?
Go ahead, Dr. Thompson.
No, do you want Amy to jump in?
That's what I was just going to say. There's a question about the new student orientation process. So that includes both the international and then obviously the domestic. So Amy, if you'd like to follow up, and then I'll ask Tukima kind of to follow up with orientation for our new students.
Yes, we are planning a number of different sessions for the international students who are on campus, as well as those who are joining us from their homes. There will be a series of programs that will help you introduce you to resources, identify sources of support, And also we'll have the opportunity, because there will be upper class students as well who are sharing that quarantine period. It will be an opportunity for us to connect incoming students to returning international students in an effort to start to build that particular cohort as well and provide other sources of support. So there will be ample opportunities to connect to resources and develop some relationships during that quarantine period.
Thank
Why
you.
has the chat been censored?
Okay, Jakima, would you like to follow up with the additional information?
Yes. So
Orientation?
yes. So if you go to the ringling.edu/orientation page, that has been updated. It is changing as we are evolving through our process. We are adapting and changing things back. So please stay up to date on that page. However, we have moved everything virtual with this new method of delivery. We want students, no matter where you're at, if you're on campus, if you're across the country, to be able to join in and participate in all of the events and activities. So you'll be receiving the online orientation Monday through an email to complete before the actual orientation process begins on September 4th, 5th, and 6th. So the 3 days before classes. And during that time, you'll have the opportunities to learn about the academic processes, student support services, and just ways to be involved in campus, as well as opportunities to meet one another through icebreakers and activities that are going to be taking place during that time period.
Why is the chat being censored?
Where's that coming from? Okay. All we didn't realize the chat was public, and so we've got it, and here we're going to capture it. And questions that we can't get to during this, this opportunity, we will certainly work to respond to. All right.
At the beginning, it was going to be public.
Okay. Well, we're going to try to move through this and get as many questions answered as we can. There's still a number of them coming in, and there's several relative to housing and when you're going to know your time for move-in for the new students here. And I know that is being worked on with regards to your housing assignments, and you will get that information for the day and time that you're kind of scheduled to move in. And the reason, just so you understand the reason that's happening, is we're wanting to kind of manage the number of folks that are coming at any one time, again, to be able to keep folks at a distance and, manage the flow into the residence halls and other housing spaces, as folks arrive. And so, if there's a particular issue with when you're assigned, you can work with residence life staff. But by and large, the way we're trying to do that is by virtue of where you're assigned, that will kind of dictate your move-in time frame, so that we don't have everybody, for instance, coming to Greensboro Hall at the same kind of time there because of the numbers. So, question here about how we are making decisions, relative to all the various changes that we are putting into place because of COVID. And so maybe Dr. Wagner, you would like to respond to kind of our procedures and our structure has been for working to manage this and figure this out.
Sure, I'd be happy to. We have a reopening coordination group that meets twice a week. And what we're really focused on, our number one priority, is being able to deliver instruction face-to-face and with a variety of modalities in the safest way possible. So we're very focused on what does that academic delivery look like and how do we support that? What does the student experience both on campus and virtually look like? What do we need to do to support that? And then the health and safety as we do all of these things and move forward. So that's been number one. Our decision making is how do we make this the safest environment possible? We can't, I think, as Dr. Thompson said, guarantee everybody's safety, but we can move forward in a community that's supportive of each other and following the protocols and support the learning experience of our students. And that's really what's foremost in our minds. And with the news that Dr. Thompson just announced, we're trying to add, different ways that we can be supportive and responsive to the concerns that we're hearing of students and parents. So we welcome the questions, and we're trying to get responses back in our FAQs as quickly as we can, understanding that it's a dynamic environment and things are changing all the time, and we're trying to refine as we learn new information so that we can support our students in the best way possible.
If you're trying to hear us, why did you censor the group chat?
Okay, we've got about 10 more minutes here. We're going to keep going through with our questions. So questions about spring, maybe Dr. Thompson, you want to respond to this, what are our plans for spring, and how are we going to make decisions relative to how spring is delivered?
Answer the questions we're asking.
We are answering the questions that are being asked, and so you can submit questions to me as well, or to any of us. So in any event, the thing for spring is that we will continue this kind of recovery task force, and we will continue to monitor how things are going, and then we'll continue to monitor the external environment in terms of what is happening involving the coronavirus and either the increase, the decrease, whatever the environment is like there. And we'll also look at other institutions to find out what they are doing to be able to learn from their experiences and where they are going. We know we'll have to make a decision sometime, probably it'll be in November at least, in order for people to know what will happen before the spring semester starts in January. But we will be continuing to monitor, and just like this, we will make the decisions as we move along.
Will you be addressing the allegations against Christian Schaefer?
Tammy, you're the moderator.
Yes, we're going to stay focused right now on our, focus on reopening for the fall, because there's a lot of questions relative to this. And
Our safety is at risk.
You should show your face.
Okay, so let's well, there's a few more questions here, and then we're going to work to wrap up this session. There's a question about attendance. So academic affairs, will the attendance policy be modified if someone becomes ill and has to quarantine or be in isolation?
That's a great question. We are, as we're moving, as Dr. Thompson just mentioned, very quickly to put out our directives and more information by tomorrow, plus the online form. We are looking at our attendance policy because we want to make sure that it's fair and that the students, many of you want to earn the letter grade and are driven to get those A's and B's as you move through your degree earning. But we know there are other circumstances that become very apparent as we know that some of the online experiences sometimes have dropped connections and things like that. So we are definitely going to look at how we can best position the student for success.
Thank you. Question about food on the meal plan. If I'm ill, will food be delivered, or how does that work? And yes, if the options here, if you're on a meal plan, the food will obviously be delivered to you in your isolation or quarantine space, and you'll have an opportunity to select from the menu. There is an opportunity, if you're not on a meal plan and you'd like to purchase kind of the package for that quarantine or isolation period, you may do that. And the cost of that is about $245 or so for during the academic year. And one final question here, and Lee, I'm going to throw this out to you. It's relative to, if something has changed in my financial situation, or it's coupled with if the deadline for when bills are due. Maybe Tracy can jump in here. Is there flexibility on that date? What's the process for either situation?
Thank you, Tammy. If you need an extension for the payment deadline, as Tracy had mentioned, email billing@ringling.edu and request an extension. Let them know your situation and the time frame that you will be looking to make payment. And they will get back to you with regard to your request. And with regard to any appeal situation for financial hardship situations, you can email FINAID, that's FINAID, @ringling.edu, and let us know your situation. Let us know your current family's financial situation, and we will get back to you as well.
Very good. Dr. Wagner, anything to add?
No, I think we covered it. Thank you.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, well, we are at our time just about, so we're going to thank you all for your participation, and we will work to answer the large number of questions that have come in, and there were some too additionally that were sent ahead of time, so we've been working to answer some of those, but those that we don't get to that aren't already on the FAQs, we will certainly work to update that. As Dr. Thompson mentioned, you can email directly to him or other members here, you know, of the staff and faculty. On the FAQs, there are some email aliases there where you can kind of, depending on the type of question you have, you can send in your questions, and then we are working to respond to those as quickly as we can. So,
Questions in the group chat. Why did you censor it?
any closing remarks, Dr. Thompson?
No, I think we've pretty well handled it. Obviously, there's a lot of questions that people have had, and that's exactly what we wanted to do, is help answer the questions of those people who are looking at returning to campus or choosing now the potential online option. And again, thank you so much for being a part of this and being able to learn about what is happening at the college. Thank you.
You didn't address our questions.
Looking forward to seeing you in the fall.
You didn't address our questions.
Please address the
Thank
question.
you all.
Everyone.
Anyone stay behind to
Cowards.
address the question.
Cowards.